Okay, so Insidious 3 is the third installment of the Insidious franchise. This film bases itself on how Lin Shaye loses her husband and how she has to deal with her psychic abilities now that he's gone. And now how she's not really down with being a psychic anymore because she doesn't really find it, well, that much of a lively job. Then you've got a girl called Quinn, who's played by Stephanie Scott, who's just lost her mother. Now I'm imagining how you guys are going to see the two connections coming together, right? The character of Quinn goes to Lin Shaye's house in order to find some spiritual connection and to find some answers.
I am calling out and trying to make contact with Lily Brenner. Lily, if you can hear me, please talk to me. Lily, are you out there? I can hear someone.
Is it my mom?
No, it isn't your mother.
Now guys, if you've seen any of the Insidious films, you know it's not going to be exactly that straightforward. So in other words, shit's about to go down. Now if you've seen the first two Insidious films, you're probably wondering right now, how do they fare in comparison to the two? Well, honestly, it's still really good considering the fact that, you know, most third films of a franchise never really match up to the first two films. Please do not take that as me saying that this film is bad. If you really think about it, the third installments of most films tend to suck. I mean, that doesn't mean that they can't be good, it just means that 9 out of 10 times it's gonna suck pretty hard. Now, if I'm gonna be honest, I had a lot of worries, I had a lot of queries that James Wan wasn't gonna be on the project. However, his writer in the last two films actually is the director of this one, so it managed to keep the same vibe and the same tone alive which James Wan created in the first two films. Which I think most people are going to be happy about, because we all like to watch a very similar film to the one that we watched before if it's a continuing storyline. Now you're probably wondering how the acting was, considering now we've got a predominantly different cast of the other two films. Lin Shaye once again kicks ass and is pretty much the face of the Insidious franchise now, considering she's been in all three films even though she died in the second. Dermot Mulroney also manages to deliver as a stern kind of loving father at the same time, and you know, he does his bit. Now the biggest shock for me was Stephanie Scott. She actually managed to deliver a really good performance which actually made you care about what was going on with her and her situation. I just find that it was quite refreshing to see a young person playing a good role well, because anytime anybody tends to see any young person on screen, they tend to get a little bit anxious, a little bit worried, because they tend to suck. Also, the two ghost hunters make another appearance in this film for the third time. This time they felt a little bit more shoehorned in, but I guess they had to have an origin story as well. Not that they weren't bad in the film, they just felt a little bit forced into the plot. They were there for comedic relief, and they did deliver some funny lines, but sometimes they did fall a little bit flat. Now the evil spirit of this film is called the Man Who Can't Breathe. The villain was actually alright. He was pretty terrifying in some scenes, he gave a lot of good jump scares. Now the thing is with jump scares, people anticipate jump scares a lot of the time, but they tend to not be as scary. However, the great thing about this film is that they use jump scares to a great effect, what they're meant to be used for, and they do it so well. There's a lot of times when I thought the jump scare was gonna lead to nowhere, and it actually does. Another awesome thing about the spirits in this film is that they do make another appearance. Lipstick Face and the Bride in Black actually do make a little appearance in this film, but I won't ruin that for you. What really let me down about this spirit right here is the fact that they didn't go back into his story a little bit. I just sort of wish that they kind of gave us a bit of an origin story as to why he can't breathe instead of him just having a respirator on his face. I wish that they gave a bit more story and a bit of background, but that kind of didn't really take away from him being actually scary. That being said, he was pretty kick-ass and I really did enjoy him. In the end, the film was scary, it was kick-ass, it had good acting, it was paced well, and it had some pretty scary shit going on. I did have a few gripes and a few problems with the films, but not enough for me to not want to see it again. If you really are into horror, I would actually pay full price for this because it actually is a good horror, which are really hard to come by. Insidious Chapter 3 gets a solid B+. Alright guys, if there's anything else that you want us to review or want us to check out or want us to do a video on, please let us know in the comments below. Feel free to subscribe, like the video, follow Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that good jazz. And that's your quick review.